We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go. We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go. Yeah, yeah. Let me sing. See, funny thing about love is you never really know when it's coming, but you better believe you'll know when it's there. True story. I must have been searching, though I wasn't looking for much. Checking out the scene, wasn't trying to get my numbers up. You know I keep it cool. I prefer to stay in the cut. Don't want no attention on me when I'm trying to shake the blues up off me. But then I saw your face. It caused my heart to race. Girl, you're looking like $1,000,000. Something about the way you strut your stuff. Oh, girl, you're fine as you wanna. What I'm supposed to do? Something told me got time to lose. Go ahead and bust a move. Funny thing about love, when it comes and goes, you never know. So you gotta keep your heart exposed, and you can be sure there's no cause and no cure. And if it wants you, oh, it'll come and find you. Fall back just a little. Don't wanna lead you on. Don't wanna push a feeling and make the feeling go. You see, I got your number, but still I ain't used the phone. No, I let it breathe for a minute, baby. Next thing I know, you call. Damn. One thing I know about love, you never know when it's coming, but you sure know it when it does. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you might get what you ask for, so you better be sure it's what you want. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Funny thing about love, when it comes and goes, you never know. So you gotta keep your heart exposed, and you can be sure there's no cause and no cure. And when it wants you, oh, it'll come and find you. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you never know when it's coming, but you sure know it when it does. Yeah. One thing so you better be sure.
Going home with y'all.
so I keep to myself. I feel like I'm falling, eating out of consciousness. Yeah. Now we starting to talk, let's killing all the progress. Really hard to process, you treat me like an object. Baby, we toxic, can we stay on topic? I feel like we lost it, feel like we lost it. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Late test, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise me? You, I only want you. You to pull me closer. Pull me closer. Pull me closer. Love's in the air, but I'm not breathing. Broken heart need repairing, yours a reason. On a hospital bed, the pain not leaving. Cupid arrows to the chest, I can't stop bleeding. If you gon' leave, gon' leave just like everybody else. If you don't like my company, then I'll do life by myself. Girl, your love like a drug, it ain't good for my health. Even though it's killing me, girl, I love you to death. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Late test, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise me? You, I only want you, yeah. I only want you, I only want you. Pull me closer. Pull me closer. Pull me closer. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Late test, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to praise me? You, I only want you, yeah. I only want you, I only want you. Pull me closer. You might not wanna get close. We a little wild war, covered in tattoos. Run it up, taking all the views. Stepping on place, feeling the fear. I know you feeling it in the air. Whole squad wearing all black. Motivation's looking real bad. We back to the bone, raising a fire alone. We ain't never needed nobody. Give me 6 feet, this is my party. Ain't got no feelings, we heartless. Take a pick us out of darkness. Blow up the spot, then we run it. Ready or not, here we go.
What's up, YWLS? Paige Rue here. This is one of the most epic events in the conservative movement, obviously, but the party doesn't stop here. You, yes you, can get involved in TPUSA action happening around the country throughout the year. Learn more, start a chapter, and maybe even meet more 2A baddies by texting PAGE to 7-1776. Don't miss your shot.
Party till 5 in the morning. Do it again in the morning. Do it like we did this rhyming. I think the government watching. Minister perfect society. Struggling with my sobriety. Struggling with my anxiety. Are you feeling the insanity? Anger inside of me. There is a war in me. And it keep drowning me. Blinded by all of the vanity. Snakes all around and they rattling. Tell them to shut up the chattering. Blow up the spot, then we run it. Ready or not, here we coming. Somebody better say a prayer for me. Tonight may get a little crazy. You can meet me outside, but you better buckle
Good morning, Turning Point USA. We are back for day 2 of the Young Women's Leadership Summit right here at the Gaylord Texan in Dallas, Texas. Oh my gosh, is the excitement palpable in this room and with everyone waiting for our first speaker to kick off the day. We are in our exhibit hall right now, which is full to the brim of conservative, really truly pro-women companies here to support actual femininity. We've got our Turning Point USA field program recruiting the next generation of our on-campus activists for our high school and college chapters. We have pro-life organizations, makeup companies, Run Gen Z encouraging more Generation Z students to run for office in their hometown all across America. We've even got period companies that pride themselves on being the only pro-women companies to give you tampons. Yep, we've got it all right here at the Young Women's Leadership Summit in Dallas, Texas. Last night was the perfect kickoff to celebrate our womanhood and femininity. We heard from Alex Clark, Charlie Kirk, Laura Trump, and Dana Lesh all about what it means to be a strong, independent woman, not waiting on permission from the government to succeed, not waiting for someone else to protect you if you happen to find yourself in a position of harm, and certainly not asking for a man's permission to let you succeed in this world, which ironically is exactly what the left has been doing these days to squash true womanhood and femininity. We are getting ready to kick everything off for a very full day, jam-packed with speakers, and we even added a new speaker for the very end of the day, Matt Walsh, who's going to be talking about his new documentary on what is a woman. Very important question for our time in the 2020s. Let's head in there and check out everything that we can expect coming up today. I personally am very excited for some very secret special surprises that I can't tell you anything about, but I will be participating in just a few hours, so I know you're going to want to watch the entire stream from start to end. We've got great speakers, fantastic breakout sessions, and as I mentioned, a very secret special surprise from one of our contributors coming soon. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we're headed in here. Can't wait to share everything with you for YWLS Day 2, 2022. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Our speakers start very soon.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go.
Charlie Kirk here, founder of Turning Point USA. Right now, the world elites are in Switzerland planning the Great Reset to try to crush the American way of life. And that's why Turning Point USA is fighting back in the grassroots of America. But to win this battle, we need you to know what is going on and to rise up. That's why I'm giving away my new book for a gift of any amount. Call the number on your screen to get your copy of the Conservative Response to the Great Reset. You can also go to TPUSA.com to order. That is TPUSA.com. Go there right now.
See, funny thing about love is you never really know when it's coming, but you better believe you'll know when it's there. True story. I must have been searching, though I wasn't looking for much. Checking out the scene, wasn't trying to get my numbers up. You know I keep it cool. I prefer to stay in the cut. Don't want no attention on me when I'm trying to shake the blues up off me. But then I saw your face, it caused my heart to race. Girl, you're looking like $1 million. Something about the way you strut your stuff. Oh, girl, you're fine as you wanna. What I'm supposed to do? Something told me got time to lose. Go ahead and bust a move. Funny thing about love, when it comes and goes, you never know. So you gotta keep your heart exposed, and you can be sure there's no See, I got your number, but still I ain't used the phone, no. I let it breathe for a minute, baby. Next thing I know, you call. Damn. One thing I know about love, you never know when it's coming, but you sure know it when it does. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you might get what you ask for, so you better be sure it's what you want. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Funny thing about love, when it comes and goes, you never know. So you gotta keep your heart exposed, and you can be sure there's no cause and no cure. And when it wants you, all of it'll come and find you. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you never know when it's coming, but you sure know it when it does. Yeah. One thing I know about love, you might get what you ask for, so you better be sure.
Conservatives have a big reputation, and you can join the movement by starting a chapter or donating today. Take your phone out and text Alex, that's me, to 71776. That's Alex to 71776. Our end game is to save America. Are you ready for it?
Going home with y'all.
I'm being honest, loving you the hardest thing to do, so I keep to myself. I feel like I'm falling in and out of consciousness, yeah. Now we starting to talk, let's killing all the progress. Really hard to process, you treat me like an object. Baby, we toxic, can we stay on topic? I feel like we lost it, feel like we lost it. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Late test, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, embrace me. You, I only want you, yeah. I only want you, I only want you to pull me closer. Pull me closer. Pull me closer. Love's in the air, but I'm not breathing. Broken heart need repairing, you're the reason. On a hospital bed, the pain not leaving. You been arrows to the chest, I can't stop bleeding. If you gon' leave, gon' leave just like everybody else. If you don't like my company, then I'll do life by myself. Girl, your love like a drug, it ain't good for my health. Even though it's killing me, girl, I love you to death. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Late test, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, embrace me. You, I only want you. Pull me closer. Pull me closer. Take my love, don't waste it. Even though I don't mind waiting. Late test, my mind racing. What else I have to do, girl, to break you? I only want you, yeah. I only want you. I only want you. Pull me closer.
Might not wanna get close. We a little wild war, covered in tattoos. Run it up, taking all the views. Stepping on place, feeling the fear. I know you feeling it in the air. Whole squad wearing all black. Motivations looking real bad. We back to the bone, raising a fire alone. We ain't never needed nobody. Give me 6 feet, this is my party. Ain't got no feelings, we heartless. Take a peek inside the darkness. Blow up the spot, then we running. Ready or not, here we coming. Somebody better say a prayer for me. Tonight may get a little crazy. You can meet me outside, but you better buckle up. It's a wild ride. Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild side. Yeah. Party till 5 in the morning. Do it again in the morning. Do it like we did this ride, man. I think the government watching. Minister perfect society. Struggling with my sobriety. Struggling with my anxiety. Are you feeling the insanity? Anger inside of me. There is a war in me. And it keep drowning me. Blinded by all of the vanity. Snakes all around and they rattling. Tell them to shut up the chattering. Blow up the spot, then we run it. Ready or not, here we coming. Somebody better say a prayer for me. Tonight may get a little crazy.
and we shouldn't allow that to happen.
Why would you transition yourself just to become better at a sport?
Because you're a narcissist. That's why. Boy, we have an amazing day in store for you today. It's going to be incredible. I'll tell you what. I heard some people had some flight delays. Is that right? Who had their flight delayed? Oh, my goodness. Canceled, but you made it here anyway. So congratulations. The events team, I'm going to say this every time I get on stage, they deserve such credit. They've had to deal with just so much in the last couple of days. So I want to announce our winners of our sweepstakes. And I know many of you entered. And so let's see who the lucky winners are. Okay. Bridget Schneider. Congratulations. It's your lucky day. Olivia Urban. Also over. Okay. Congratulations. And by the way, if you're like, what did they win? They have a chance now to meet Candace today, which is awesome. Briley Elsesser. Did I say that wrong? I'm sure I did. Briley? Yes? Okay. Allie Hellman. Congratulations. Stacy Buckingham. Ryan Sadler. Megan Knowles. It's okay. You could scream and celebrate. It's good. You see, the problem is everyone else is like, I hate that person. They are terrible. What did they do? They cheated. Voter fraud or something. It's just terrible. Right? All right. We have, did I do Buckingham? I did. Chloe Hutzler. Did I say that right? Congratulations. Hannah Bales. Hannah? Where's Hannah? Okay. Congratulations. Marie Kruger. Did I say that? Or Kruger? Did I say that wrong? Okay. Well, Marie, you're going to get an email anyway. So, Sophia Siroisis. Congratulations. And then Brittany Rust and Lindy Muncaster. Okay. Now, we will open up a couple more slots if some of you arrived late. So just a reminder. So it's not over yet. You could still win. Just subscribe to the podcast, screenshot it, and then email us, freedom@charliekirk.com. Okay? All right, I want to talk to you about a couple things, and we have an amazing agenda in store. I want to remind you that whatever evening plans you had tonight, you no longer have those plans, right? 7 o'clock here, Matt Walsh and I are going to try to figure out what a woman is. And so that's tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so we're going to end general session with the great Candace Owens, take a little break. You can go get some food, come back, and then a special evening event here at 7 o'clock. So I want to ask a question. How many people here have been graded differently by your teacher or a professor because you're conservative or Christian views, lost friends, bullied, harassed? Basically every hand goes up. And if your hand didn't go up, you probably go to Hillsdale College. So, or you're homeschooled. No, my favorite is when the homeschool kids are like, my teacher's the worst. Yeah. See, we have the professor watch list in our teacher project. Doesn't work well with homeschooling. We're not doing that. But almost every hand went up, and that's a big deal. Because if we were at, I don't know, what do they call their gatherings? The We Hate America conference or something, whatever. None of their hands would go up. It's easy to be on the left. It's easy. It's comfortable. You get accepted, you get all the jobs, you get everyone, no one questions you, right? I mean, if you were to post, I don't know, whatever, what month is it? Pride Month or whatever, everyone loves you, right? Okay, it's great, it's normal, right? And yet it's tough to all of a sudden oppose that. And so let's talk about that for a second. What is required of you to push back against that and to be different? Well, it's courage. And moral courage is the most necessary yet absent characteristic. And boy, is courage missing right now, isn't it? And so what is courage? Well, courage is doing the right thing when you don't know how it's going to work out. And so for some of you, coming here was an act of courage. For some of you, it wasn't. Now, for some of you, you kind of knew how it was going to work out. You came with a bunch of friends. For some of you that traveled halfway around the world. Now, who traveled the farthest to be here? Anyone from Alaska? No, we always that's impressive, right? Now, I asked this, is anyone from Guam? We have like a Guam chapter. It's pretty awesome. No Guam. No. Sweden? That's a big deal. Stand up. That's pretty awesome. You're from Sweden? She's wearing a Trump hat and she's from Sweden. It's pretty awesome. My wife is half Swedish, so that's just awesome. So you came all the way from Sweden for this. That is so cool. And you from England? Sweden is further east. I'm sorry you lost. Stockholm is further away from London. But you came from England for this? That is so cool. I just want to talk to you and figure out, what compelled you to come halfway around the world. So for anyone from the Dallas metro area? Anyone? Okay. I'm sorry, way more courageous to come from Stockholm. All right? You guys got in like an Uber, okay? They had to escape Stockholm and London. Honestly, though, I have to say that, I actually envy how Sweden responded to COVID. In a weird way, it's like they were more pro-freedom than America was in a very bizarre way. Sweden's got its own set of problems. So look, that's courage to go to a different country, to go to a women's summit, to go figure out what I want to do with my life. Do I really believe these things? London, also pretty awesome. Alaska, it's not exactly nearby. And so that deserves to be applauded and needs to be kind of understood. But for all of us here, you're probably asking, well, Charlie, how do I be courageous? Well, here's the cool thing about courage is that anybody can be courageous. Is that you don't have to be talented to be courageous. You don't have to have a skill set to be courageous. You just decide to do it. And that's unique, isn't it? Because there's going to be some stuff where people tell you today, and you're like, I'm not really big into that, and I don't know if I have the skills to do that. But anyone can be courageous. So what's an easy way to be courageous? Challenge someone with power who's misusing it. That's an easy way to be courageous. We call these people bullies, right? They use power, and they use it against the weak. So America at its best is when the strong protects the weak, or the strong protects the not as strong. This is one of the reasons why I find it so reprehensible that we're allowing women's sports to be destroyed in front of our eyes. Now, I'm not saying women are weak. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, though, that men are physically stronger than women. It's a fact. If you deny that, then go find another movement to go be part of. Like, if we can't agree on that, bone density, muscle mass, testosterone, you name it. And if we're now saying that nothing is worthy of preservation or protection, then that's actually the worst exhibit of the strong crushing the not as strong. And in fact, this is more of a message for the men than the women. Where are the men actually standing up against these men who think they are women that are trying to compete in these female sports? Shouldn't put up with it anymore. And how many athletes do we have here that are dealing with this situation right now? Raise your hand if you're an athlete and you're dealing with this trans. Fair amount, okay. Yeah. I'm sure we'll have some Q&A. You'll be really enthusiastic. We'll hear from you. I love it, though. And you bet. But this is a big deal. And it's not just about female sports. And look, I mean, you just heard my clip about Thomas, the swimmer. I refuse to use the first name, by the way. Thomas, right? And so people say, Charlie, why don't you use the male name and all this? Look, it is a man, no doubt, absolutely, but just Thomas, okay? That's fine. It's a cheat. It's that simple. That if you use your biological advantage to then go win a national championship and become a national champion, you're cutting in line. You're abusing your own incumbent advantage against people that do not have the same sort of equal footing. And what's so interesting, and I'm sure many of you know these people, and the kind of hyper-feminists, right? There might be some here today, by the way. Welcome. I actually have more in common with feminists than leftists nowadays, which is bizarre, because I grew up with feminists like screaming at me all the time, right? But an interesting thing about feminism, at least the feminism I grew up with, which I disagree with a lot of what they say, is at least they believe that womanhood or being a woman is a category worthy of protection. The feminists that I grew up with, and that many of you probably know on college campuses, is their main complaint is that if we do not have boundaries and all these things, men are going to oppress women, right? That's kind of a main complaint of modern feminism, which is hilarious because they're so silent now that men are oppressing women in female sports and in all these other ways. Like, where are the feminists exactly? Awfully quiet. And I've had these dialogues on college campuses where people I ask them, I say, so what exactly does it take to be a woman? And they say, well, you just have to think that you are a woman. And this happens all the time. But you think about it, that's really kind of where our culture has been headed for the last couple years. Just because you feel that you are a thing, that does not mean you are that thing. And so it's either we are going to be tied down to these pesky shackles of reality and actually understand that there are some things that we must observe that we can all agree upon. We call that the truth, by the way. Or we're going to allow everyone to be able to define their own truth. And where does that lead you, by the way? And so does that mean you could just decide to be rich? Well, sure, like I'm rich, yeah, because I want to be rich. And you think about it, that's kind of the self-esteem movement gone wrong. By the way, I hate the self-esteem movement. I think it's a total waste of time. Now, most women disagree with me when I say this, right? Men agree. What is the self-esteem movement? It's these ridiculous posters in these schools where it says you're perfect the way you are. Have you seen those? Well, if you're perfect the way you are, then why are you going to school, right? Like, why are you doing homework? How about this? You're not all you could be yet. That's a better poster. That's what we should be telling you. Like, you're on the way to becoming a better person, right? Instead of you're totally perfect the way you are. And I actually think it creates more issues with young women in particular, where, young women, I think, have let's say, too much pressure put on them because they say, I don't really feel as if I'm perfect the way I am. Maybe I want to make some improvements. Maybe I want to become a better person. And it becomes it creates an unnecessary amount of pressure on people. So I'm going to talk about a couple other things as we go on here. And I know the one thing that everyone wants to talk about is, Charlie, why are men so terrible nowadays? Because I can't find a good boyfriend or fiance. Because that's basically why you're here, right? Is dating advice, right? No, I'm kidding. You're going to hear a lot about that from Victor and Eileen Marks, who are amazing, by the way. But let me just say this, that from whatever it's worth, look, men got plenty of problems. We're going to work on that. At least I'm pretty into. I tell men to get their act together and stop acting like grown infants and learn how to control yourself and all these different sorts of things. See, it always gets applause, right? Always gets applause. And because men say, man, I can't find, a woman. I can't find anyone to be with. And I say, you're really not anything worth being with, to be perfectly honest. And I say, no, but the number one thing I tell men is they have to learn how to control their impulses. How many agree that men lack self-control in America today? Would you agree with that? Yeah, there you go. It's the number one thing that men have to become better at. But then what is it that, and I generally leave this to my wife to talk about, right? You have to be open to try to find a partner that might be good at things that you aren't good at, and that can lead you in circumstances. That is a difficult thing for modern American feminism to admit. That you might have to get in a relationship where you might have to be led. Now, that should be a high standard where you're going to allow a man into your life to lead you, right? And you should say, like, yeah, I'm going to have high standards. But when it happens, and this is the biblical model, right, is that you're going to want a protector and a leader, right? And deep down, a vast majority of you agree, and some of you are like, Charlie, I'm never going to, when I get married, I'm in charge. And that's okay. We'll see if it works. Because God made us differently. And and that's a good thing, by the way, right? Because when the metaphorical bullets start firing, right? When things really start to get tough, God made us different. And everyone in this room is going to want a man to go into the fire for you and the family, to go confront evil and to defend you and defend what is good, true, and beautiful. And you actually play a role in that. So when you're dating, date with the intent to marry. Dating just for dating's sake is a total waste of time. It's better not to date than not date with the intent to marry. Okay? And with that is also rejecting hookup culture and all that nonsense that has pervaded college campuses and high school campuses. But look, men grow up later, we know that, neurologically and other ways, but they take their cues more from you than you might realize. And if you tell, let's just say, a boy soon to be a man that wants to be with you, say, look, I'm looking for a leader that can control themselves, that has courage, that is going to be able to face tough situations and make appropriate decisions. That, like, whoa, I thought we were just kind of getting coffee. No, like, my time's too valuable just to kind of get coffee. And you'll learn really quick whether or not that's a boy or a man. If it's a boy, he'll have you pay for your coffee and he'll pay for his coffee. If it's a man, he'll be like, yeah, that's me, I'll show you. And now it could be self-cockiness, so just be a little bit guarded, but at least the standard has been set, right? And I'll tell you this, men need to be challenged. They do. One of the big problems in America right now is that men are not being challenged, is that men need a call to adventure. So we have a whole generation of grown infants, as I've mentioned, that are, and look, I say this, and you know what's amazing is I don't get really hate mail from young men when I say this. A lot of them agree, and unfortunately so many of them are addicted to pornography. They're spending way too much time in their, watching screens and all that. And a lot of it's not their fault. A lot of it's a broken culture that, quite honestly, they don't feel as if they are welcome into, and they don't feel as if there's a place for them. And so it's a balance. And, for you that are kind of like, wow, I really want to find my partner, I want to build a life, and I've just been striking out at every single corner, it's a balance between being open-minded and challenging somebody and also saying, like, you're not right for me, and this is not right for me. And that's setting a higher standard for yourself and setting a higher standard for your life. And then for some of you right now, you're probably in some very serious relationships. Raise your hand if you're in a serious relationship. That's awesome. So now you're probably getting contradictory advice. And so now I'm going to give you what I believe is the best advice. You're probably getting contradictory advice. You're probably getting advice. It's great that you have this serious relationship. It's understandable that you think he's the one. Go pursue your career, go make a bunch of money, and you can marry him in 6 years from now. How many people hear this all the time, right? Hear this all the time. That's a bunch of garbage, okay? Now, if you believe it is the one, why would you wait to go get a career at some stupid company and then, why would you do that exactly? If you believe that person is right for you. Now, if you don't, if you're unsure, that's a totally different question, right? But if you believe that's the person that God meant for you to be with and to build a family and to build a union, well, then it takes courage to get married, doesn't it? It's actually easier to just delay. Like, yeah, we'll get married in the summer of 2037. Got it all picked out. We're going to do it. It's going to be great. It's tougher to be like, you know what? No, I'm going to take responsibility right now, and we're going to make this happen. Now, I know a lot of you say, well, Charlie, I'm not the one that makes that decision. Yeah, right. Okay. Sure. You tell him what you want, and all of a sudden everything will change. Now, what do you mean by that? It's to be like, look, I don't think we should be in a long, meandering, never-ending boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. It's not healthy, by the way. It's not. And it's not healthy in a way because God wants you to be in that union. I'm not saying that there's not exceptions and you can't be happy and do all these things, but marriage is awesome. Let me tell you what. Everybody here should desire and want to get married. Everybody. And so it's a balance, and the world will be telling you, just graduate college, find your career. But guess what? You know the saddest emails I get at our podcast, and I get them almost every single week. And so I'm going to tell you something that's going to scare you, and I mean to scare you, is 31, 32, 33, 34-year-old women that say, I can't find anybody, all my friends got married early, all the good ones are taken, will I ever get married? And so it's all about what you prioritize, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to go to college to go get an MRS degree, right? Is that, they still know what that is? MRS, a Mrs. degree? Okay. No, but I'm saying be open to God's plan for you. is what I'm saying. Be open for what might be in store for you, because he might shock you and he might surprise you in a stunning way. And guess what? Here's the other thing, is that men are going to be looking for somebody that is willing to want to do the contrarian cultural thing, that is willing to want to embark on that sort of a journey. That is actually more attractive to a man than just being, let's just say, easy to come into contact with. Is that a politically correct way to say that? Right? And so it's about standards. And it's about being willing to be in that partnership, in that union, as a Proverbs 31 woman would be. And so there's a lot of different dynamics that come to this. And I want to task all of you to do something, which is anytime, and by the way, you could do this with your friends and all that, but when it starts to seep into this, anytime men bashing starts to go on for 5 or 10 minutes, stop yourself. You're like, yeah, men could be infants and all that, but we need men. We do. Because I know a lot of you are like, oh, men are the worst. Look, I agree. We could be exceptionally terrible. I get it. But it's men that are going to go into battle to defend what we need. It's men, and women do too, no doubt. But more men step up and do the difficult, tough, pressure-filled situation things that we need. And so reject that kind of men bashing. Reject it anytime that it comes up. And so look, what I'm talking about and articulating is certainly not in, let's say, the predominant view on a lot of your colleges and in the culture. So how's that working for them? We have the most depressed, anxious, suicidal, alcohol-addicted and drug-addicted generation in history. I wonder why. It's because we told 14, 15, and 16-year-olds you could do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, however you want to do it. And guess what? It's created really miserable people. Making pleasure the most important thing in your life is a bad idea. Don't do it. It creates really unhappy people. And so instead, when you believe in the promise of delayed gratification, which is, I'm going to do something hard today for something potentially beautiful tomorrow, that's all of a sudden where you're going to be a happier person. And so you look at, I'm sure all of you, if I asked how many of you raise of hands know at least 1 or 2 people that have committed suicide in the last year or two, everybody's hands is going to go up, right? It's a terrible tragedy. It's the most suicidal generation in history, yet it's the generation that we've told there is no God, do what you want, and you can make any decisions you want. And here's why. It's because, there's a lot of reasons why. One of the main reasons and one of the main drivers when you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old is that if you get addicted to nothing but doing pleasure all the time and pursuing pleasure, by the time you're 20, you're going to be looking for that next high, and you're going to think the world is an empty and vacuous place. So what does that mean? It means if you prioritize what feels good immediately over what is good, then pleasure is the most important thing. Now, mind you, this is more of a problem for young men today, but it's now seeping into a lot of, the data shows it's a problem for young ladies as well. And so it could be as simple as, am I going to continue to do drugs? Am I going to continue to do alcohol? Am I going to continue to be in some of these kind of toxic relationships? And so what's interesting is we've had the experiment, though. What creates a happier generation? Doing everything immediately as you want to do it, as the impulses come, or learning to restrain one's impulses? You know what maturity really is being able to know what you want and be able to say, I'm not going to do that. That's what maturity is. And it actually is so lacking in our country because, what is it now? You have weed on demand. You have all this nonsense. And by the way, don't do weed, people. It's really bad for you, okay? Please, it's terrible. It's awful. And yet we have a generation that is looking for direction, that is looking for meaning, that's looking for purpose in a dramatic way. And yet here's the thing that I just kind of want to reinforce with you, is that you will be a breath of fresh air to young men in your community, in your school, if all of a sudden you're going to be known as the person that doesn't put pleasure first, but puts goodness first. I'm telling you, young men will say, what? You're trying to tell me you don't want to drink till 4:30 in the morning? And like, no, actually, I'm going to go to bed at 9, and if you want to talk to me, you got to get your act together. Have a nice day. I know a lot, and that could be tough for a woman to do, by the way, right? Because more agreeable. Women tend to be more agreeable. Now, what's the deeper point of that, though? It's knowing what you want and knowing then that it's not going to come easily, right? And setting those standards and setting those barriers for you. A couple more things I want to talk to you about. Our country's in tough shape, as we all know. How many people here are homeschooled? Raise your hand if you're home. Wow, that is amazing. That is awesome. I believe homeschooling is one of the great developments that has happened post-COVID. It's funny, kind of post-China virus, Fauci virus, a lot of people were, all of a sudden parents started to overhear their kids on Zoom and Skype classes, and they realized that these teachers had absolutely no idea what they were talking about at all whatsoever. And like, maybe I should be homeschooling my daughter or homeschooling my son. And what we have seen with moms showing up to school boards across America has been one of the most inspiring and amazing movements that we have seen in recent memory. And that kind of goes to this idea of education, which is, how many of you that are in college feel that your college is just kind of a waste of time and super liberal? And yeah, you're really enthusiastic about that. Yeah, look, education is what you make of it, right? Education comes from a Latin word which means to lead forth. And here's one of the things I want to make sure you leave with, especially as future mothers, as future wives, and as future guardians of a country, which is lifelong learners. And you know, it's really amazing. We look at our podcast demographics. It blows people away when I tell them, I say that our most passionate podcast listeners on our program are mothers ages 30 to 45. It blows people away when I say that. But why is that? Look, and this is an important point as we start to get into this kind of moment. This is why the left, I think, is going to get obliterated. Is that it's one thing to get men fired up about politics. It's interesting. But when I talk to men about what's happening, they're like, yeah, gas prices, like inflation, you know, the border. But when I talk to mothers, they're like, the World Health Assembly is going to take over American sovereignty because of these 13 amendments. And Klaus Schwab needs to be, I'm like, whoa, like, that's pretty cool. And that's not men bashing, but we're very good at one thing, gas prices. But what's amazing is that this like deeper game of sophistication that is playing out, it's being driven by new moms, by young ladies that have this kind of instinct that is like, there's a game going on here that is more than just gas prices and inflation. That there's a game here to get my kids to hate me, to get my kids to hate the country. There's a game here to crush American sovereignty. And again, I'm not trying to be unfair to men. There's plenty of men that get into the details of that. But it's disproportionate amount of the kind of deeper level, more sophisticated level of activism. And so you got to be lifelong learners. And what the left has, they don't understand this at all, and they're totally misreading the room, is that now that we have been exposed to the lockdowns, the vaccine mandates, to all this nonsense, now all of a sudden we are naive no more. We kind of understand that there's something bigger at play here. But they have activated millions of women to now become like meticulous researchers. Like the same way that moms will research now about nutrition, and like they're now researching about kind of the entire agenda in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum. And you think about it, it's actually the same instinct. And for those of you that are mothers or one day want to become mothers, is the science shows this, is something supernatural comes over you that you want to protect and you want to guard. And I believe that same sort of instinct that comes over to you when you have a child as a mother is precisely what is happening, by the way, to the country. Is that now moms are saying the same way I have to defend my child against potential viruses, people that are bullying them, I'm not going to let my country now be run over by these people either. It's almost the maternal instinct of an entire country. And it's beautiful and it's exceptional. We can't lose that in any way, shape, or form. So a couple more thoughts I want to kind of touch on here, which is I want us to also kind of have a renewed sense of gratitude for the nation in general. One of the things that fires me up the most is the pervasive and the widespread ingratitude that has spread across America. I think that ingratitude, or being unthankful, is one of the most undesirable characteristics in a human being. And this is a good rule for life. There's only a couple things you remember from this summit, okay? Which is that ingrateful people, or ingrates, or people that are not thankful, you cannot be happy. If you are not a thankful person, you cannot be happy. And guess what? Gratitude takes effort. It takes effort, especially in today's time when borders are wide open, double-digit inflation, all this nonsense, to say, you know what? Thank you for all these things, but you have to ask, so who are you thanking? Right? And of course, I would say you would thank Lord Almighty for the chance we can live in the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. You will be on a better path for your life when you are thankful. And the entire agenda of the 1619 Project, of the radical left-wing curriculum takeover, the agenda that has been seeping into every single portion of American education, is to get you to no longer be thankful for the sacrifices they made for this nation. They want to wipe the memory clean. Why do they put masks on children? Because they don't want them to have any memory of freedom. It has nothing to do with the virus. They don't want them to know anything but how to be controlled. They want 5-, 6-, and 7-year-olds to believe the default setting of their existence is to be controlled by somebody else, to put a cloth mask on, because then they're going to be less likely to push back against tyranny. Why is there not revolutions in China? They have no memory of freedom. They don't even know what it means to be free. And so, this nation, with the greatest political document ever written, the United States Constitution, a story and a journey that is worthy of appreciation and study. But it's more than that. A nation is not just a constitution or a Bill of Rights. Praise God we have those things. It's also a people. And one of the things that I think that the left has severely that they underestimated and they didn't quite see coming, is that in the weeks and months that followed January of 2021, they thought the American people were going to give up. And what's interesting is that the American people, something in us, something in our history, something in who we are, is that we aren't like any other nation. It's actually the opposite happened. I want you to understand the special historical moment you're living through, which is an unexpected development where the world's elites, they thought they could call moms and dads domestic terrorists for showing up at school board meetings. They thought they could call you a bunch of racists. They could call you a bunch of transphobes, and you'd say, you know what? You're right. We're done. And you would kind of just go, not do this anymore, and, I don't know, go knit or whatever. I don't know. The opposite happened. The more they insulted us, the more they came after us, the more they tried to silence us, our movement has only grown in the months and the years to follow. I want you to understand how unique that is. They're not used to a citizenry, you, getting bigger and stronger the more they insult you. They're not used to a citizenry, you, getting tougher the more they throw at you. Where the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Justice comes out and says that if you show up to a school board meeting, we are going to classify you potentially as a domestic terrorist. I want you to think about that. Guess what? More moms showed up to school board meetings after the FBI's letter came out. More parents showed up. And so a nation is its people. And if you forget what comes before you, then that nation no longer exists. There's an all-out assault on our history for that exact purpose. This is why they have to take down our statues. If you do not have icons of people that did something great before you, then you don't have a nation. I'm sure many of you have to listen to the pablum in your high school or college campuses that our founding fathers were racist. How many of you have to deal with that nonsense almost every single day? Again, the homeschool hands never go up, so that's just not fair. But it's the greatest nation ever to exist in the history of the world. You know what we all have in common as human beings? We're all born into a world we didn't create. The Founding Fathers were born into a world where slavery was everywhere. By the time they died, 9 out of 13 colonies had abolished slavery. The Northwest Ordinance had abolished slavery in the new Northwest Territories. The first anti-slavery convention was hosted in Philadelphia in 1775 by Benjamin Franklin. The first state abolished slavery in 1777, Vermont. They came into a world where slavery was everywhere, and by the time they exited this world, slavery was largely dead and on its way out. We should probably learn something from those people, don't you think? There's something special about that. Now, of course, the critics on high, they say, well, Charlie, they didn't get rid of slavery completely and totally. Yeah, as we know, it's tough to get rid of evil when it's everywhere, right? It takes effort, it takes generations. You got to convince people. And it's amazing. I never thought I'd say this, that in a couple weeks it looks like Roe versus Wade might actually be repealed. It's amazing. And isn't it interesting? You see, it's a women's summit. You're supposed to be against all of that, right? Isn't it interesting, though, how quickly those protests fizzled out? Isn't it interesting? We were told they were going to blow up cities and all this. That actually, when we act boldly and courageously and we do hard and big things, the other side isn't nearly as powerful as they say they are. I mean, you would think that the potential repeal of Roe versus Wade, and by the way, it doesn't even get rid of abortion, it just sends it back to the states, just to make sure everyone's understanding the collective freakout the media is trying to induce on you. I wish it got rid of abortion. That's a separate issue, but I'm just telling you what it is that instead, when we do big and hard and bold things, that we could be and we will be rewarded for that. The other side, okay, they go scream at you and they'll protest you. What else you got? You go burn down another Wendy's? We already saw how that works out. You go looting in the memory of, okay, we already saw how that works out. No. Instead, when we stand up against that kind of evil, then all of a sudden big and bold things can happen. And to go back to the Founding Fathers and the country and the nation that they founded, that we all get a chance to live in, it's nothing short of than a gift from the Lord. It really is. And you look at the sacrifices and the system, checks and balances, consent to the governed, separation of powers, independent judiciary, presumption of innocence, and you look around the world and you say, wow, the window of freedom is closing. And we have a choice as citizens. And that's an important distinction, which is when you live in a country, most people that have ever lived, most people that have ever breathed, they live as a serf or as a subject or as a slave. You get a chance to live as a citizen. It's a totally different thing. You know what citizens get to do? They get to displace bad people when they make bad decisions. Citizens get to run for office. Citizens get to question their government. So there's a couple questions that are happening in America. Do you want to have the few rule the many or the many rule the few? We want the many to rule the few, obviously. We don't want the ruling class, this group of elites, that are pushing this sort of venomous, insidious, poisonous ideology on us to go unchecked. But you know, the great check is you. And we're starting to see it change. You know, people ask all the time, they say, Charlie, do you think we're winning or losing? So, well, it depends how you're keeping score, but at least hear me out with this. CNN Plus lasted like 2 Scaramucci's, right? It lasted like 2 weeks. Disney down 40%. By the way, we're never using Disney again, right? We're never using these people. We're canceling Disney, canceling Hulu. Netflix. What's this? Lauren, everybody, she hosts the event. She says we have a call from somebody special. Okay. Hello?
Hello? Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. President. Welcome to the Young Women's Leadership Summit at Turning Point USA.
Wow, that sounds so beautiful. So beautiful.
So, Mr. President, we have...
That's great. It's great to be with you, even if it's just through the telephone. But Charlie asked me if I'd call, and I said, absolutely. When Charlie wants me to call, I call. So it's really good to be with you. He's a fantastic guy, and they're doing great work. And there are a lot of young conservatives. I think far, far more. I think we have more than they do. You want to know the truth? But there are a lot of young conservatives around. That I can say.
Well, we totally agree, Mr. President, and I can tell you this room is 100% with you, 2,500 young conservative women, and
that's great.
So thank you for calling, Mr. President.
Well, we're doing well, and we're really, the other side is helping a lot by having the worst economy, by having the worst of everything with the Afghan, the way they withdrew, and all of the things. The war with Ukraine would never have happened 100%. So the other side, what they're doing is so terrible for our nation, but it'll get straightened out. You'll watch, and you'll be very happy.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I can tell you this room is 100% with you, and we have your back. God bless you. We really do. Thank you.
So, Charlie, thank you very much, and you just take care of yourselves. Take care of Charlie. He's a great guy, and I'll see you soon, Charlie.
Thank you, Mr. President. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good time.
Thank you.
So long, everybody.
How about one more cheer for the president? How great is that? It's amazing. Just to tell you how loved you guys are, and I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, I'd love to call in the biggest young conservative women's leadership summit in the country. I'll close with this. As you know, many of you know, we just launched Turning Point Action and Turning Point PAC, and in fact, this morning is brought to you by that, is that we are going to be getting involved in the grassroots, holding our candidates accountable, and drafting candidates. And if you believe that you want to run for office, please go find somebody that is working for Turning Point Action. We have to have people run for school boards, for city council. We have to have people run for everything, dog catcher, you name it. And I just want to close with this, which is this event that you're at is obviously getting eyeballs from the top levels of everything. And there's a reason for that. It's because you as young conservative women rising up are the greatest threat to the left right now. And what you are doing is so special. And you are living in a moment right now where this republic, we're not a democracy, we're a republic, is going to be saved by citizens, everyday citizens rising up that are going to be taking bold and courageous action. And you are all living as part of this. So people say, Charlie, are you optimistic or are you pessimistic? I say it depends. But here's what I know. At Turning Point USA and at Turning Point Action, we are making hope happen. People say, Charlie, do you have hope? I say, I have hope because of what we're doing. Because we're no longer watching from the sidelines, but we're in the trenches and we're in the arena. And all of you are fighting alongside me and Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action to help make that possible. God bless all of you. We'll see you later. Thank you.
What's up, YWLS? Paige Rue here. This is one of the most epic events in the conservative movement, obviously, but the party doesn't stop here. You, yes you, can get involved in TPUSA action happening around the country throughout the year. Learn more, start a chapter, and maybe even meet more 2A baddies by texting PAGE to 7-1776. Don't miss your shot.
I'm a woman who's had an abortion. I've been in an abortion clinic. I've sat on the table, and I know what it's like to be in a position where you feel like you have no choice.
Pro-Life is a ministry that I founded to primarily fill gaps in the pro-life movement.
I have a heart to see women empowered. I have a heart to see women healed. Many of the women that we serve are just like me. And so I want to give them hope. I want them to know that abortion isn't the answer. And I want to serve them, and I want to serve them well.
It's going to require, though, for all of us to step in and to fill some of those gaps. and to meet these women where they are and to walk alongside them in this journey.
We're looking forward and we're hoping for a post-Roe America. So we want to pool our resources and come together and steward them well to be able to serve women all over this great nation. And I believe that if we lead with love, then we're guaranteed victory.
One of the things that was said to me by my boss when I left Planned Parenthood is that I had made an enemy of one of the most powerful organizations on the planet. But that's such a lie, because the most powerful organization on the planet is the church. We can make a difference.
Ladies, please welcome to the stage Victor and Eileen Marks.
So nice to myself. So nice to myself. I'm so nice to myself. I'm so nice to myself. So nice to myself. I'm so nice to myself. I'm so nice to myself.
Thank y'all so much. Wow, this is incredible. How about that time with Charlie? And then the president calling? Incredible. Well, let's get right down to business. This is everybody wants to know about the dog. This is Scout. No. She knows. This is Reagan. So Scout is our Belgian Malinois, but Reagan is our Dutch Shepherd. And she's always looking for people who aren't paying attention. Or men with beards. So Reagan, stop the fixation, please. Come in here, seats. So Reagan is actually my wife, my bride Eileen's dog, and she was with us in both Iraq and Syria. So that kind of sounds odd, but help us understand. How many of you are not familiar with our story? Could you raise your hand so we know? Okay, great. What? How many of you follow us on social media? Thank you guys. So this is my wife's dog, and she is sweet. And yet, she's very focused. Can you see that?
Yes, I call her my furry missile.
She is. When we first got her, I had to watch myself. Leave it. People think she's a statue sometime.
Oh, she's looking over here somewhere.
Yeah, she's... there we go.
No worries.
Well, let me give it to one of our team members. Is my Shiloh here? Lindsay? Okay. Why don't you take her? I don't know. Well, today we're going to talk to you a little bit about relationships and marriage. By the way, this is my young person clothes.
Nice. Very nice.
It's the first time I've not spoken in boots and jeans and one of my jackets in forever. But she says, honey, you gotta.
That's right. He rocks it, doesn't he? I think he rocks it.
I feel 6 months younger. So let me tell you a little bit about us to put in context what we're going to talk to you about. We have a organization called All Things Possible. We're going on 20 years, and we actually have rescued, reached, recovered, and helped young women your age and children who've been held captive by ISIS, are affected by ISIS overseas, and to date, we've reached and helped, it's over 43,000 girls and women right now. We actually still have a safe house in Iraq. We were just there about 4 months ago. And since the fighting has been over, bad things still happen. But 48 hours after we're back in country at our house, a young woman, 18 years old, who was held captive for 7 years by ISIS. She was abducted at 11 years old, and her mother and father were killed. She's been suffering as a sex-trafficked young girl. She was in our house 48 hours after we landed in country. And you know what? That's the power of prayer, good team members, and we just appreciate those of you who help us with that. Now, I would have never gone to Iraq if it wasn't for this one. I had just come back from Berber. My background is I served in the Marine Corps many, many years ago. Thank you. Then went into ministry. I realized God gave me a gift to lay hands on people. And that's a biblical reference. Some people...
You may need to clarify.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, some people need their feelings hurt. Amen? Some bad people we call it the manifestation of evil, need to be stopped and held accountable. But I just come out of Burma. This was a number of years ago, and Eileen tells me, honey, we need to go to Iraq. As in, you need to go to Iraq. Put a team together. And I was like, hey, I got to rest up a little bit, babe. And this is the influence and power of a woman. It's more than you know. Trust me. I think one of the lies that this culture tells you is you're not really powerful. You know, you have to take a second seat to everybody. Let me tell you what, if it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't have gone into Iraq, taken a team, and started rescuing and recovering women and children from ISIS and helping them.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
I just put it in context. I got the team together, we're ready to go, and my wife goes, hey babe, I feel like I'm supposed to go with you. And I said, no, you're not. No way. And then we got in an argument, a discussion. I have to be careful because she's actually a black belt. She's former Miss Fitness USA. She can shoot multiple, anything you put in her hand, bow and arrow, darts, drive. She's literally the real Laura Croft, I'm going to tell you right now. And she tells me, I think I'm supposed to go. And I show her all the horrible pictures of murder. And she said, what's the worst that can happen? I go, well, wait a minute. Why do you want to go? And she said, because I know you'll find those girls, but you can't hug them. But I can. And I said, you're willing to risk your life just to hug girls who've been held captive? She goes, what's the worst that can happen, babe? We die? And I was like, yeah. The whole death thing, it's a big one. And you know what her answer was? Well, then don't we win, because we go to heaven anyway. That's my bride. That's my bride.
That's right. And here is my strong man. Did you get that? And ladies, I love what Charlie said about we need strong men. Our nation needs strong men like no other time, but you know what? We need strong women. And in order to have strong men, ladies, you need to know who you are. You need to know your value and your worth. Because if you don't know that, how do you raise the measuring stick for a man that you want to be strong? Yes? Because we came into our marriage, neither one of us, shall I just say it? Both of us had had relationships before we came into our marriage. So we had the world experience. And we realized this is not working well for us. So we said, we're going to do it God's way. So a strong man, he was a strong man. He did not compromise. He didn't want me to compromise. That, to me, is one of the greatest gifts that we have in our marriage. But let me tell you, ladies, our identity is not hid in what you do. It's not hid in your bank account. It's not hid in what people say about you. It's not hid in the jewelry, the cars. None of that matters. Do you know where your value is at? Do you know how much you're worth? This is the secret, ladies. This is the secret. If you know who you are, your life will be different. And let me tell you, I don't know if you understand this or even believe it, but you have an enemy who wants to discredit you. He wants to tell you that you're not valuable, that you're not worth anything. He wants to take away the influence you have as a woman. And guess where this started? Ladies, this started back in the Garden of Eden. When the enemy, who was a snake, is talking to Eve. My first thought is, what are you doing talking to a snake? But a conversation started, and his whole purpose was to discredit God, to get Eve to not believe God's goodness for her life. And guess what? She believed it. And from that moment, the enemy has been trying to discredit God and dismantle women and your purpose in your life. Now, let me tell you a scripture that changed my world. I was in my 30s, I had 3 children. I didn't know who I was yet. But let me tell you a scripture that changed my world. Do you want to know what it is? It's King David. King David said it, and it's in Psalm 139. And this one scripture says, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works that my soul knows very well. When I realized who I was, my life changed. If you love reading, and I know all of you gals are readers because you're leaders, would you look at Psalm 139, because the whole chapter talks about who you are and who God is. It will change your world. It has changed my world, Psalm 139.
I just want to get over and give you a movie kiss watching
Well, you
look.
can.
I just want to right on your mouth, honey.
You can, right now, you can.
Rawr. Hey, I think about Adam in the garden. Where was he when another man was talking to his woman?
That's right. Where was he?
That's what I want to know. What's up? Somebody talk to my wife. I'm right there next to him. What's up? Huh? That ain't gonna happen.
Wait a
Heck,
minute.
if I was Adam,
Yes, what would you do if you were in the garden with me?
you'd have a new pair of boots and a matching belt and purse,
Thank
baby.
you. Thank you.
I'd use that snake for the right reason.
That's right. Thank you very much.
You know, honor is so important in relationships, and she is speaking truth to y'all when she says, you're the one that can help raise the standard in a man's life to be a strong man. But in order to do that, you really have to be a strong woman. Does that make sense? I mean, one of the best things my wife has told me when we weren't doing well, when I wasn't doing well, this is a little marriage tip. She goes, babe, lead me better than this. You can lead me better than this. And if you're a single gal and there's some, jackwagon not treating you with respect and all that, just look at him and go, you're a better man than that. Turn around and walk away. Or if he's got his hands on your throat, punch him. And then walk
This is
away.
where self-defense comes in handy, ladies, I'm just going to say.
Now, when she talks about when we met and we got sweet on each other,
Isn't that a sweet way to say that?
Well, I got sweet first, and it took her about a year to realize, all this. Strong back, weak mind. She came into a church where I was at to get counseling because she had a jackwagon boyfriend, and she's like, yeah, I don't know, he just really doesn't act like a Christian. I'm a new Christian. He says he's a Christian, but he wants to party. I'm not into that anymore. And I wasn't even a pastor on staff. I was like, hey, can I give you my opinion? He's a spawn of Satan. You need to dump this dude right now. And in the same night, I'm like, so I'm available. And I told her, I said, I'm not even looking to date. I just want a married woman who's going to help me follow the Lord. We'll probably end up in Africa somewhere. It was Iraq, but we have gone to North Africa before. On mission, like really special mission. We were in and out of the country in 24 hours. That's something made for a movie, I can tell you right now. But it was amazing because she, in graciousness, just said, yeah, let's, I'm not sure. Let's, but you know what, have patience with young men. And look, I apologize on the behalf of young men right now in our country who are more interested in gaming than being honorable to girls. That's... I apologize for pastors who are more passive than they are courageous in wanting you to know about faith and your feelings. I apologize for parents that didn't step up, dads who were absent and didn't give you protective love, knowing that you were heading into minefields, and maybe they felt hypocritical. But parents, you're not a hypocrite if you're not practicing what you did as a kid. You should be able to look at your young lady and tell them the truth. This is the pitfalls. These are the minefields. Don't go that way. Does that make sense? Yeah, so we waited.
We did wait, and this is a very important part of, I believe, relationships, because today our culture does not honor that at all. So waiting is like you're living the archaic Stone Ages. But when you choose to wait, ladies, you are speaking of your value. Yes. And guess what? You're making a young man, a man, and he can wait if he thinks he wants to marry you. And you know what? We also believe marriage is such a good thing. Marriage is the first institution God ever created.
How long have we been married?
This December will be 34 years. I know. Yes. I did know that was coming.
Pre-anniversary celebration. It's not till December, but I think we should practice it all year long.
So ladies, I just want to tell you, you are the one that holds the standard. I've already told you that, but you are the ones that hold the standards, not him. Do you realize that? If you raise a bar, guess what? He'll come up to that bar.
It's true.
Yep.
And gals, I know we live in a culture where it's like, where are the guys? We have 3 daughters. 2 are married. We have one that just graduated high school. Part of the Honor Society. She's a smart one. She took after her mom. She's actually here today for the first time, and I'm so grateful for you, sweetie.
I'm looking for you.
We won't give her name because of privacy. And then, actually, we have a son here. We have 5 children. We have two young men, and then they're both single.
Well, one is 16. He should be single.
And one's 30. Where are you at? I'm gonna pimp him out today. You just stand up and I know him. He's gonna hide like a ninja. But waiting is great. It is great. It shows that you both have, one, you value yourself, you're honoring God, and guess what else? We wait. Now, I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
But it's the right thing to do. And our engagement, it was short.
It was a short engagement.
Hey, it's okay. I think it was like 90 days, and I was like, we better get married. Rawr. And, but you know what? You'll have to go against what this culture says. And if a guy isn't willing to wait on you, then he's not worth you. If he's not willing to wait, he ain't worth you. I come from a pretty dysfunctional family, and I had a brother tell me, he says, hey man, when we got engaged, he's like, so how is she? I said, how is she what? He said, you know, how's she in bed? I said, I already told you we chose to wait. Because you can, regardless of your background, you can stop today and choose to wait. You can value yourself and go, that's my past, this is my future. And he goes, well, man, you can't, come on, man, you can't get married. He goes, what if you're not sexually compatible? And then I was like, well, oh, I never thought about that. And then I feel like God gave me the perfect response to him. My brother who lives in Houston, I said, he's a car collector. I said, you like Ferraris, right? He said, yeah, of course. I said, if we went to the dealership right now and you could walk on the showroom floor, pick any Ferrari you wanted, and they give you the key and they give you the title. The only thing they said is you can't test drive it, but you can have it. Would you take it? He goes, of course, I'd be foolish if I didn't. I said, that's right. I found a Ferrari. I ain't got a test driver.
Ladies, that's the kind of man you want. Someone who honors you. Yes. I mean, a Ferrari? Thank you.
Yeah.
So, we don't have a lot of time, but we want to tell you just a few things about marriage because, again, marriage is so strong. We believe in it. We believe it's for you ladies if you feel you want to go there. But what are the few things that we have put on our foundation for marriage?
Well, one, we learned to fight back to back, not nose to nose.
That's right.
And we've done it literally and figuratively because we've been in every hostile environment. I've been shot at for the work we do, bringing kids in from Mosul during the fighting, mortared. Our family had to hide for 3 days in Iraq from ISIS because they were trying to track us down. So we've learned to fight back to back, not nose to nose, and then bring God in the middle of it all as a referee, right?
Yes, that's right.
But also I would say on our marriage, because we waited, we proved to each other and the Lord that after we were married, we can still be faithful.
Yes.
No one's going to catch our eye. No one, because we proved to each other. Does that make sense? Because I know a lot of you are hesitant about getting married because family's been divorced and all that. And I'm telling you, my mom was married 6 times. She must have liked that wedding song. That's all I got to say. We ended up buying for her on a CD and said, Mom, just listen to that when you get the hitch. But don't give up on marriage, and you should be wanting to get married early. Because guess what? If you get married early, that diminishes the whole temptation.
Yes.
Don't be doing married folks stuff.
Which is what? What is
sex?
married stuff? Yes.
Was that a trick? I was like, I don't know what
No, that is not. So the other
take out the garbage?
The other thing that, yes, take out the garbage too, of course, yes. The other thing that we think is very important is trust. And trust is something that if you don't have in your marriage, it's very, very hard to build on that. So if you're dating somebody right now that you have any questions, can you trust them? This is not something you want to go forward in, because it doesn't get better. So trust is something you cannot negotiate. It can't be counterfeited. You either have it or you do not.
And don't let loneliness push you past the point of your own boundaries. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Don't let loneliness, all right, because you may feel alone, but you're not.
Yes.
All right? And again, you have to be able to look at yourself. You know, one of the things that was appealing to me about her, she didn't need a man. That was very interesting. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
She knows who she is. She's going for it. And yet she loved the Lord more than anything. And I'll never forget, she was a new Christian. I was a new Christian. Remember we went and had that little dinner?
Yeah.
You ate that big shake. I didn't really.
Chocolate peanut butter.
It was a big chocolate peanut butter shake. I was like, how do you ate lettuce and then a big chocolate shake? I don't get it, but okay. And I just lost my train of thought.
I don't know. We have 51 seconds.
I know, but what was I talking about? It was going to be good.
I don't know. But here's the thing. Here's what we really want to encourage you, okay? We believe, you know, stay pure. And listen, if you haven't and you've made that mistake, stop. Turn around and start going the right way, because you can do it. The Lord wants to help you do that. You are worth it. Yes?
Well, I think we covered it all.
Yes.
Strong marriage. Got to get married early.
Yes.
Save yourself for marriage.
Yes.
Be a Ferrari.
It's worth it. It is so worth it to save yourself. I cannot emphasize it enough, because you have a lifelong opportunities to love each other, and it's just you two.
Yep. You know, here we are, 34 years.
Yes.
5 children.
4 grandbabies.
4 grandbabies. And we've never cheated or been cheated on.
That's right.
And we want to hold the standard for y'all that it can be done regardless of your background. You put God in the center of that relationship. Know who you are and know that he's got a mission for you. Yes. We're planning to go back to Iraq, then Colombia, then Cambodia, where we actually hunt pedophiles. So will y'all remember us as we hunt them? Well, thank y'all for the opportunity to be here. It has gone by fast. We underneath your chair is 2 books that my wife wrote, and it's a gift to y'all from us, because I know y'all want to know more about what we're doing, because love matters. Don't ever give up on love. And I would say, hey, I got my friend Steven, is he here? I want him to come on out. And you know what? Let's give my buddy a big hand.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing today, daggone it? Are we having a good time? YWLS 2022, let's go. Come on now. Now, this is a good day. Not only did we get to hear from President Trump, how about that? Not only did we get to hear from this wonderful couple, but it is my lady's birthday. You know I had to embarrass you, girl. So why don't you come on up, because I want y'all helping me sing her happy daggone birthday on her day. Come on up, girl. Yes. So 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daisy. Happy birthday to you. This is what it's about right here. This is what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why I love Victor Marx is such an incredible person, because this is the type of man, ladies, you should be trying to acquire. Jordan Peterson talked about a harmless man, right? He said a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man that keeps himself under voluntary control. That's what it's about. That's the type of man you should be trying to seek after. A man who's unafraid to show his love for you. A man who's unafraid to be himself, to show you the most vulnerable parts of himself. That's what it's all about. You got to find a man who's unafraid to be himself with you, to be unafraid to learn her love language. That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. You got to find yourself a man who's unafraid to get on one knee. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Daisy Sereno, soon to be Davis, Miss MAGA Hope, let's go! Let's go!
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and our beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to our causes, and with your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Y'all, that's hard to follow. We're all crying backstage. Is that awesome or what? Welcome, beautiful ladies. It is such a blessing and honor to be here. My name is Lee Wamskans, and my pronouns are Bible believer, Jesus lover, gun carrier, and mama bear. I am the Vice President of Government and Public Affairs with Patriot Mobile, and we are honored to sponsor today. We love you too. I'm also the Executive Director of Patriot Mobile Action, a separate entity, a newly formed PAC. And just weeks ago, we worked very hard for 11 school board candidates here in North Texas. We won 10 of those races. And the 11th is in a runoff. Stay tuned, we'll have news coming up. But back to Patriot Mobile, we are the nation's only Christian conservative wireless provider in the nation. We have been so blessed the last few years. Last year, just so you know, we give a portion of every dollar we earn back to Christian conservative causes. Last year we gave $500,000. This year we are slated. God has blessed our business. You have joined our company and enabled us to give more. This year we're giving $1.5 million back. So where does that money go? We have 4 pillars: the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and we support our military and first responders. The First Amendment, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion, the freedom of press, the freedom to address the government with your grievances, to hold them accountable. Biden calls that domestic terrorism. Patriot Mobile calls that freedom. Ladies, always remember, your elected officials work for you. They're not the boss, you are. The Second Amendment, our right to defend ourselves shall not be infringed. Ladies and gentlemen, at Patriot Mobile, we know that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. The people who want to take away your rights have armed security. They're hypocrites. Do not let them take your rights away. The sanctity of life. We support organizations that stand up and help women who are in crisis pregnancies, give them a place to live, give them counseling, show them they are loved and forgiven. And we're supporting organizations, too, that are getting ready for what we hope is a slew of women, because we are going to get Roe thrown out. And finally, our military and first responders, the people who protect our borders, the people who run into burning buildings when we're all running out. God bless the men and women who are on the front lines keeping us safe. Now, I hope all of you guys come to our booth. We want you to come talk to us. We want to get to know you. We've already gotten to know so many young ladies. Last night was fabulous. But we want you to be able to take something with you. Want to know what you guys think about our shirts. So you can get these shirts a couple of ways. You can come to our booth and just sign a little form and get one. Or, who's a good catcher? Can I get Jolynn to stand up? Can I get, and y'all got to say it, it's really his name, Brandon to stand up. I need Josh and Riley to stand up. Where's Ariel? Can you stand up? Brittany, stand up. Okay, y'all, I want to see how good your arms are. Put your hands up. We're going to throw these out. Let's go, Brandon. God bless you guys. God bless Patriot Mobile. Come see us. Take care.
Baby, is that you and me?
This is the end of the logic of the pro-abortion case. The same legislators who are pro-abortion were happy to vote yes on the bill criminalizing animal cruelty on the federal level. And while I'm thankful for this, I only wish the same basic compassion could be extended to the most vulnerable members of our own species.
So much for the warm reception. My favorite event of the year. Thank you guys so much for being here. I truly do love YWLS, and I love talking to you guys. I love the energy that you bring and just the commonality that we all have, that we are women who love a good fight. We are women who love the truth. We are women who love to do and to know what's right. And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So I want to start in a little bit different of a way than I typically start. I'm going to start by reading from the first chapter of the first book of the Bible. And that's going to, woo for the Bible. And that's going to kick us off where we're going to go today. So first, Genesis 1:1, the most important and the most controversial verse of the Bible, I like to say, that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created the sun, moon, and stars. He created the earth and the land. He created night and day. Everything that we see, everything that is in the world is here because God created it and holds it together. He also created human beings, Genesis 1:27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Now, things start to go south pretty badly if you are familiar with the beginning of human history. If you are familiar with the beginning of the Bible, the first 2 chapters explain how God created the heavens and the earth, gave male and female, man and woman to one another, and also gave them dominion over the world to take care of the plants, of the animals, to work the ground and to keep the garden, and said just one thing, that from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. Everything else you have access to and dominion over by my good and gracious hand, but this is the one thing you shall not do. And then Genesis 3. Something happens. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, did God actually say, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. That's Genesis 3:1-6. There are many lessons that we can draw out of just the first 3 chapters of the Bible alone, but there are just a few things that I want to highlight that will launch us into the rest of what we're talking about. 1, God, who made all things, who is the creator and the authority over everything, also made us. And when he made us, he gave us a name. He didn't just make us as human beings. He didn't make us as clumps of cells. He didn't make us as balls of matter. He made us in his image as women. God is maker of all things, and therefore he alone has the authority to tell us who we are, and what we are worth. He made us women. And specifically, he says that the woman was created to be a helper. To be a helper to the man. And when he makes woman as a helper, he says that it's not just good. That's the adjective that he used to describe the rest of creation. But when he made human beings in his image, male and female, he said he saw that it was very good. The third thing I want to highlight is that the woman was Satan's first target. The woman was the first recipient, the first believer in, the first target of propaganda, of temptation. She was tempted into a few things. She was tempted into doubting God and his word, doubting God's faithfulness, doubting God's wisdom, doubting God's goodness, tempted into believing, most of all, most dangerously of all, that she was a God herself, that she could become like God. So immediately we see Satan sow seeds of dissatisfaction in Eve about being a woman. Immediately she wants to be something else. She wants to be like God, how God created her, who God created her to be. Immediately was not enough. Being a woman was not enough. He tells her, you are not made to be a helper, Satan says, but you are actually made to be like God. Now, what if I told you that the same lie is being fed to women today and has throughout all of human history? It's taken on new forms. That being a woman is not good enough. Being a helper is not powerful enough. It's not successful enough. And it's not just that we hear the lie of feminism that you must be like a man to be successful, or you have to be a man to be great, but also that you can be your own God. Still, we are being tempted with, did God really say? And if you do this, you can be like God. You can be your own God. Now, what do I mean by that? How is that showing up? It's showing up in the pithy phrases that you see in your self-help books, that you see in cute Instagram graphics that we're probably all internalizing without realizing it. We're told that you can be your own God when we're told, live your truth. Decide what's good for you. You do whatever makes you happy. You be around only the people that serve you. Don't do anything that doesn't make you feel good. Put off the hard stuff, the stuff that requires sacrifice, because all that really matters is that you feel good about yourself. You are the source of your own truth. You're the arbiter of morality. You're the source of your own love and satisfaction. You're enough for yourself. You're perfect the way you are. We are constantly ascribed to these godlike characteristics in order to make us feel better about ourselves, but it's a lie. It's always been a lie. You and I are human beings. We're finite, we're fallible, we're not perfect the way we are, we're not enough for ourselves. God made us this way, and yet we are still believing the lie that we can be like God, and it's manifesting itself through narcissism, through glorified narcissism, through trendy narcissism that says all you have to do in life is make yourself happy. Cut off the people that don't make you happy. Don't do the job that doesn't make you happy. Don't be in the hard friendship or maybe the difficult marriage that doesn't make you happy. Don't have kids because kids are hard. Put off marriage, put off commitment, put off sacrifice, put off family, put off having babies, because all of that is hard and it might inhibit your happiness. And if you are your own God, the only thing that matters is that you feel good. How's that working out for us? How does that motto, how does that mentality seem to be working out for the women of this world? Are they happy? Are they confident? Are they satisfied? Are they at peace? Or man, are we struggling with deep insecurity and self-loathing and purposelessness and meaninglessness and depression and anxiety and feelings of suicide and loneliness? How can that be? If we are truly our own gods, if we are enough for ourselves, if we really are perfect the way we are, as we are told constantly, if we are told to constantly prioritize our happiness, why are we so sad? Why are we so dissatisfied? Because Satan is still sowing the seeds of doubt in women, in all of us, about who we are and why we are here. We are being told to be your own God, to be your own moral arbiter, to be your own master, to do whatever you want to do. Eat the fruit. It tastes good. You'll be like God. The fruit of narcissism, the fruit of self-centeredness, the fruit of laziness, the fruit of addiction to comfort and convenience, the fruit of ease. And I'm here to tell you, there's a better way for us women. And this moment that we are in, this moment of history, this tiny speck of eternity on which God has providentially placed us, requires a better way. It requires better women than the examples that we are given in the media, in Hollywood, on social media. Women who, first and foremost, know what a woman is and rejoice in being made a woman. Rejoice in being made not just human beings, not just people, but women by the God who created us, rejoicing in our DNA, rejoicing in our biology, all of the characteristics that make us us. And women who rejoice in our calling to be helpers, to be, in many ways, servants, women who pour ourselves out, who sacrifice, who embrace challenge and difficulty for the sake of making the spheres that we occupy and the people that occupy them better. Now, what exactly does that look like? Practically, tangibly, what does that look like? Well, first, we need to recognize that every woman is called to be a helper. That doesn't mean that you're not on stage. That doesn't mean that you're not on the forefront. Here I am. Helping looks, there's a variety of ways that women are called to being helpers. However, what I would say is that every woman, stay with me for a second, every woman has not only the capability, but also the calling to be a mother. Now, wait. That does not necessarily mean that every single woman is going to be a biological mother. Now, that is a wonderful calling. It is the best thing besides being a follower of Christ and a wife to my husband that I am. I love being a mom to my 2 little girls. I love raising them. I love discipling them. I love them with my whole heart. I can't imagine loving anything anymore. I would die 1,000 deaths for them. I want every woman to experience what it feels like to love a child and just the self-sacrifice that you are so willing and eager to give on a daily basis for the human beings that God has given you. But that's not everyone's calling. And I do just want to say that if you are not a mother, if you will never be a mother, that does not mean that you are not called to mother. Because mothering doesn't just look like physical motherhood, although that's great. Yes, it can look like adoptive motherhood, but it also looks like spiritual motherhood. It also looks like mentorship. So what I mean by saying that every woman is called to mother, what I mean is that every woman has a role to play in using her unique capabilities as a woman to shape, to protect, and to prepare the next generation for what's to come. So, whether or not God blesses you with physical children, I pray He does, that might not be His plan for you. Do not feel like you don't have the ability or the calling or the purpose to mother. Don't feel like you are incomplete. Don't feel like you are less than. Don't feel like you are less than a woman. Not everyone is called to that. Not everyone is going to be given a husband and a child. I know sometimes it's hard to hear, but that's true. That doesn't mean that God doesn't have amazing things in store for you when it comes to preparing the next generation for the challenges that we know that they are going to face. You have a part. Every single person in this room has a part in being a form of a mother for the next generation. And women have the unique capabilities, the unique characteristics in doing that. We are natural nurturers. We are natural multitaskers and maximizers and cultivators and creators and beautifiers. We are really good at entering a space and making it better, and making the lives of the people who occupy the spheres that we are in better. That is how we are called to be helpers. That is how we are called to be servants, servant leaders and servants. Now, there are a few ways that this is going to show up right now in our current moment when it comes to protecting and preparing, mentoring, mothering the next generation. Like, there are some things that we are going to be protecting our kids from. And whether they're your kids or someone else's kids, we are going to be fighting for our kids against, for example, the destruction of gender ideology that is ruining people's lives, that's mutilating women's bodies, young girls getting their healthy breasts cut off because someone on Tumblr told them that they might be a boy because they like to wear pants more than a skirt. Like, we are standing up for those people. We're standing up for the vulnerable kids. We're standing up for the kids who are being indoctrinated by activist teachers and being told to question the body, the DNA that God gave them just because they might have different interests. That's a problem. As a woman who is made in the image of God, who is made with innate capabilities to mother, that means you have the innate capability and should have the drive to also be a mother bear, to be protective. That should piss you off, that there are kids who are being told that their body is not good. In the age of self-love, we're actually telling kids to hate themselves, to the point of genital mutilation, to the point of chemical castration, to the point of slicing up their bodies to be something that they will never really be. And the rates of suicide and depression and anxiety don't go down after that mutilation takes place. We are protecting our kids not just from that, we are also literally protecting kids being sent to the slaughter through abortion. Thousands of babies every day. And don't let people tell you they're not full-term babies too, although in all stages of pregnancy, they are made in the image of God and equally valuable. But this is happening through all 9 months of pregnancy. And you guys know on my podcast, I make a point to describe what abortion actually is, what the procedure actually is. It is brutal. It is poisoning. It is sending a chemical combination of poison into the baby's heart while the baby is still alive, forcing a fatal heart attack so that baby dies and then is dismembered and removed. That's what abortion is. It is violent. It is brutal. It is child sacrifice. And so we, as women, as protectors of the next generation, we fight to protect and preserve those lives. We all have a role in mothering and protecting the most vulnerable. We protect them against all kinds of secular, progressive, destructive indoctrination, including the racial essentialism that is tearing our country apart, including this idea that if you have less melanin, you're on the side of the oppressor. If you have more melanin, you're on the side of the oppressed. You're inherently privileged or you're inherently set back. We protect our kids from that kind of destructive mentality that is only going to lead to mediocrity and hatred and resentment. We are preparing our kids for the challenges that are ahead. And we use our God-given capabilities, our God-given characteristics as women to do that. We help the world. We help the next generation. We mother them by speaking the truth in love, by teaching the truth, by living the truth, by embracing who we are as women, teaching the next generation of girls to do the same thing. And so there are really 3 quick points, just quick tips or pieces of advice that I would love for you to remember. Just 3 phrases that I like to say a lot so that I would hope that you would take home. Number 1, choose your hill. Choose your hill that you're willing to die on. Now, we can't die on every hill. You cannot care about every issue equally because, as we said in the beginning, you're not God. We're not God. So we don't have the full capacity to do that. You cannot. We all have experienced compassion fatigue with the 24-hour news cycle. You can't care about every issue that you hear about, that you read about, with the same fervor. You just can't. You don't have the ability to do that. You can't care about every single issue with the exact same passion. So choose the issues. Choose the issues that really matter. Is it the fact that a woman is a woman? Are you going to fight against gender ideology by going to your school board? By trying to peacefully protest some of these child drag shows that you're seeing in your area? Are you going to be standing up for women in female sports? If that is your hill, figure out how to organize, how to find like-minded people, and to push back against it in a kind and peaceful and truthful way. Is it abortion? Figure out ways in your area to advocate for the moms and the children who are in crisis, to push for good abortion legislation, but also to make sure that those women are cared for as they bring new life into the world. Choose your hill. Can't have a million hills. Choose your hills. Decide to focus on that. Know as much as you can about those issues. Find like-minded people that feel the same passion that you do about those issues. Organize and activate and do something about them. And then number 2, as you are engaging in that, share arrows. Share the arrows. So we all know what it's like to be criticized, at the very least, at the worst canceled, for our unpopular, out of the mainstream views, whether it's about abortion or gender or God or marriage or the economy, whatever it is, the Second Amendment. We all know what it's like to get bullied, to get pushback, to get really mean messages, and sometimes to be cut off by people in our lives, by our family members, people who we thought were our friends, just because of what we believe politically or morally or theologically. And when you see someone publicly, when you see someone in this room, when you see someone you know, or maybe you don't know, but say you see them online and they've stood up for what they believe is right when it comes to traditional marriage or abortion, and they're taking heat for it. They are having calls for people to cancel their business. They're leaving negative reviews. They're getting arrows launched at them because of those unpopular views, rather than you looking on and saying, I'm glad that's not me. Learned my lesson. Hopefully that won't happen to me. Hopefully the mob won't come for you. Newsflash, the mob is coming for you. The mob is coming for you. So when you see the mob being sicked on someone else because of views that you have to, rather than saying, I hope that doesn't happen to me, you stand up and you say, you can send those arrows my way too. I'll take them. I'll take them. I'll share those arrows. I believe that too. If you see someone in your class at school, high school, university, who is being maligned for their views on something that you believe too, rather than shrinking back and saying, ooh, that sucks. You stand up and you say, yeah, I believe that too. She's right. And you be willing to take the arrows. That is a way to love other people. That's a way to love other people as you would want to be loved. Because if that were happening to you, wouldn't you want someone else to stand up with you? Wouldn't you want someone else to stand up in solidarity with you? So you be that for other people. Courage begets courage. I can't tell you how many people have told me that because the listeners of my podcast, because we talked about their story or something on my podcast, or I shared about it on Instagram, the listeners of my podcast reached out to that person and said, stand strong. You're doing the right thing. God is with you. Keep going. Don't close down your business. Don't take down your account. Don't apologize. Don't backtrack. You said something you believe, and guess what? I believe it too, and I'm with you to share those arrows, and I want to encourage you and build you up. That's a game changer. Courage is a game changer. Allow yourself to borrow someone else's courage if you don't have it, and if you do have it, allow other people to buy yours. Borrow yours. Don't sell it to them. So share arrows. And then the last one, raise a respectful ruckus for the things that matter. So you choose that hill, you share those arrows, and then you raise a respectful freaking ruckus for the things that you care about. A respectful, relentless ruckus. You keep pushing. You keep speaking up. You don't compromise. Never apologize for something that you're not sorry for. Do not compromise. Do not caveat it. Do not nuance something that you know is right. Stand firm in it. Stand firm in it, and I'll make a commitment. I will, everyone in this room will stand up with you and share your arrows. And together, we can make a difference. And together, we can change the culture. Together, we can be strong protectors, helpers, mothers, fierce mothers of the next generation as they face the challenges that they do. Thank you so much.
Going on, y'all? This is amazing. Thanks for coming out. Don't you want to be around these people all the time? If so, text GET INVOLVED to 71776 to find out how you can. Or if you want to invite me or other contributors to your campus to scare your snowflake colleagues, text chapter to build TPUSA at your school. Text 71776.
Well, hello. We are so happy to be here with all of you beautiful young women who are going to be the leaders of conservatism and faith and family and America into the next generation. So glad to be here today. And I'm Jennifer Van Laar. I'm managing editor at Red State. People have read my articles, probably don't realize what a pro-life passion that I have, and I'm so happy to be here today with these ladies to talk about that and how you can be leaders within this movement too. So I'm going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Lila Rose, and I am a proud mom of two. I'm one in heaven, so three total. I am a wife, and I'm the founder and president of Live Action. So please come by our booth later. But I'm really grateful to be with all of you. Live Action is the leader for the pro-life movement in digital activism and education. So we reach millions of people every week with the truth about abortion and human dignity. And it's really all of you and all of us that are frontlining this fight for life. And I'm really excited to talk about it today with Jennifer and these lovely ladies. So thanks for being here.
Hi there. I'm kind of the new kid on the block here. I am Megan Basham. I work for the Daily Wire. I knew that would get a cheer at least. And I am a culture reporter, so I cover a lot of things in the faith arena, in the entertainment arena, and I talk a lot about how pop culture informs how we think about these issues. I am a mom myself. I'm probably the oldest one on the panel, so I have a junior hire and one who is going into the 3rd grade. So I spent a lot of years at home taking care of them and really watching all of this unfold until one day, with my little job with an evangelical magazine, which I loved and still love, I decided I needed to get in the fight. I couldn't sit back anymore. And I called the Daily Wire and just said, hey, can I have a job? And I started talking to them. And so that's why I'm here today, was I couldn't sit back anymore and I had to get in the fight.
Well, hello, ladies and the few gentlemen out there. I'm Jenna Ellis. Great to see you. And you all know me, of course, from my role with President Donald Trump as his senior legal advisor and counsel. And I'm an attorney. Yeah, give President Trump a hand. So it's so great to be with you. And I'm a Newsmax contributor now. And all of you need to subscribe to my podcast, The Jenna Ellis Show, because on that show, we take the issues of politics and really distill where do we need to look at this from the Christian worldview, from the truth-based worldview. Because my journey in law started when God called me to law at the age of 14. So for all of you out there, never ever doubt that God can place a calling on your life at a very, very young age. I had no idea what he was going to do with my life and be sitting here with you today. But what I have been so passionate about in law and in advocacy is to teach and advocate the truth of the Constitution, and not just these top-level political issues, but really, why are we advocating for truth? Why do we have the best and the only argument? And why do we care so much about preserving and protecting all of our rights, including the right to life that we're going to be talking about today? Because it's based on the truth of the Word of God. And we absolutely have to continue that message. So I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Thank you, ladies. So I should add that I am a mother of 3 boys and grandma of one perfect little girl named Daisy. And that is the best thing that has ever happened to me, was motherhood and grandmotherhood. That's even better. But like Jenna, I felt a calling in my life young to be in the business world and to be doing a lot outside the home. But I also never wanted anything more than to be a mom. And I think that resonates with this pro-life movement and everything that we want to do to protect the next generation of girls and boys, so that they can even just get to this earth and have the opportunities that we've all had. So I'm going to share a really personal story from my family of how abortion can affect women and even the rest of the family, as kind of an introduction to what we're going to talk about today. So I shared this on Twitter right after the news broke that Roe versus Wade could possibly be overturned, which is wonderful news. I'm definitely praying for that. So I grew up in a faith-based home, grew up being pro-life, and then my parents divorced, and when I was 19, I was visiting my mom for spring break and came in one evening to find her just sobbing uncontrollably on the couch. And I thought, oh my, something terrible must have happened. And I rushed to her and put my arms around her. And it took her a few minutes to compose herself when I asked what's wrong. And she said, you know, I was pregnant and I'm over 40. She was on some mental health medications. They advised her to have an abortion, and she did. But the significance of that day, why I found her there crying, was because that's the day that the baby was supposed to be born, a day that's etched in her memory the last 30 years. Of course, I cried with her. I couldn't believe it, especially growing up in a faith-based home. But she was single, scared, and getting advice from medical professionals that this was the best thing for her to do. It took her a couple of decades to even somewhat begin to forgive herself for that. Our entire family has mourned that loss of my sibling. my oldest son's 27. My sibling would have been 30 this year. How cool would that have been to have them grow up together and have that in our family? My mom now has taken that pain and works with women who are feeling regret and depression after having an abortion, and especially in the faith-based community, that sometimes women feel that have made that choice, and maybe they weren't particularly faithful before that, and then they are trying to find peace. They feel sometimes that they can't be redeemed from that because they took a life. But I'm here to tell you that they can, that, as Jenna had shared backstage, that there's not one sin that the blood of Christ doesn't cover. So when I shared that story on Twitter a month ago about, got a lot of slings and arrows from that, but I also heard from a lot of my longtime Twitter friends, just ladies maybe in their 50s as well, that said, I still regret what I did 10, 20, 30 years ago. It still affects me. Or people that ended up marrying the man whose baby they had aborted, to put it bluntly, but that they as a couple still mourn that oldest child that they didn't have. So we're here to help educate you on some of the facts about this and give you the tools so that you can help prevent this from happening to other families, and that you can help women heal who have been through this.
Well, I'll jump in here. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Her story reached thousands and thousands of people on Twitter, and a lot of people opened up about sharing their own abortions and why they regretted their abortions, and helping other women not make that same choice. And so, the last 10, 15 years, I've been in pro-life activism since I was a teenager, and doing undercover investigations of the abortion industry, and seeing firsthand the lies that are being told to us every single day, whether it's in classrooms or through media or through celebrities who are presenting the death of a child as empowerment. And, it takes a voice, even just one voice standing up to say, this isn't true, this is a life, women deserve better, and that one voice of truth breaking through the noise can literally save lives. And I've seen this firsthand. I don't know here if anybody here follows Live Action or does their own posting online, but we get messages. We get messages every day, and our followers get messages every day. Different followers posting different things. There are thousands of these messages from women or girls who saw a pro-life post. And because of that post, a fact about fetal development, the heart's beating at 3.5 weeks from fertilization. It's amazing how quickly that baby grows. The facts about the abortion procedure, what the abortion procedure actually does to kill that baby. And we're going to be releasing a new campaign in 2 weeks called Abortion Procedures at abortionprocedures.com that you'll see to help educate. But these facts can save lives if we are willing to share them. If we're willing to share them and take the heat and go out and share them. And not just facts about human life and abortion, but also facts about healing and recovery and support for women, support for pregnant mothers. One of the resources that Live Action frequently pushes is the whole network of pregnancy resource centers, thousands of them, and opportunities to get involved in adoption or foster care, support for women who've had abortions, who feel abortion regret. Rachel's Vineyard is an amazing organization. All of these resources are listed at liveaction.org. So be equipped with knowing what the resources are so that we can then share them and be ready to give the truth about this whenever there's an opportunity, because your willingness to stand up and speak out will literally save lives. And today people are desperate for help, desperate for truth. There's so much confusion, and your voices are so needed.
And if I can just add to that, we open this panel with a personal story and the impact of story that it has when you share your own experiences, when you share the stories of people you've known. I will say that the pro-choice side, the left, they use the power of story really effectively. And part of what we're doing at the Daily Wire, of course, is getting into the realm of storytelling through entertainment. And another thing I do is I'm a Rotten Tomatoes critic. I'm a film critic, and so I talk a lot about how these narratives inform how we think about issues. And sometimes what you'll see is that we focus on statistics, and that's important, but there are other people who those go right in and out of their head. And I'll tell you my story, because we all have these stories that relate to life and relate to what the cause of life means. My mom was 17 years old, unmarried, high school student when she got pregnant. And I'm here today because she chose to bring me to full term, to give birth to me, to keep me. Yes. And, you know, she did it in an era when not only was abortion legal, but so little was known about it. We did not have the ultrasounds and the information that we have today. So I look at someone like my mom, and I look at my life, and I look at my kids, and she looks at her grandkids, and we talk about how grateful she is today, how grateful I am, obviously, that I'm here. And so I think, you know, along with arming ourselves with statistics, even if you don't have them, don't be afraid to tell your stories, because we all have them, and they're all persuasive.
We do all have stories, and you may not have a story like these ladies here. You may not have a story that you feel relates exactly to this, but you do have the story of Christ to share, and you do have the love of Christ to share. Because one of the things that the pro-life movement is often criticized for is that, well, you're not caring enough of women, and you're not empathetic enough, and how dare you take away women's rights. But this isn't just about making abortion illegal. It's about making abortion unthinkable. And that's what we have to do as the church. Because when we choose to share our stories, and when we choose to share the love of Christ and his story, and to say, you know, I have sinned, we all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and your sin is no greater than anyone else's, and showing that there is redemption, there is love, there is hope, no matter what we've endured in this life, that is a powerful message. And so as we're looking at all of the stories of women, and you're looking at how to best advocate, some of these things we have to debunk. And the myths that we have to debunk, first and foremost, are that we have to care about just the mother instead of the life of the child. In nowhere else at all in our American justice system do we ever punish an innocent, independent third party for the actions of two other people. And that's what's going on in an abortion. An abortion is a medical intervention specifically designed to cause the death of a human being. And that's the truth. And we have to be willing to stand up and say, we value and respect that all human beings are made in the image of God and have inherent dignity and worth. And once you ever draw that line anywhere else on the spectrum of life, from conception to natural death, if we choose to move that standard, then where does that end? And we've seen that in politics and policy, where now the state of California and other Democrats are trying to say, well, then after, for an hour, up to maybe 20 days after the birth of a child, then the mother can choose to not give life to that child. Or the physician-assisted suicides, the end-of-life types of bills. If we ever move the bright line standard and say that the moral truth comes from us instead of God, then the question becomes, did God create us, or are we trying to create God? And that is ultimately the original sin, right? Where man was trying to become like God. And so all of these cases, when we're looking at the Dobbs case that's hopefully going to overturn Roe versus Wade, when we're looking at all of these arguments, we have to be telling our stories with love, but we also have to be telling and speaking the truth in love. And the truth is that every human being is valuable. And if you draw that line anywhere else, I like to call it moral gerrymandering. Because that's what they try to do, right? When they try to draw the lines around certain different demographics and different districts, because they want to have and incorporate certain voters, that's what they're doing with moral lines. We have to keep the moral lines fixed and say that man cannot create God in our own image. We have to make sure that we are always, always advocating for truth.
Thank you. Our discussion has taken probably a little bit different turn than we had talked about backstage, but I think it's been perfect because we have covered a lot of the things that we wanted to share. And the main thing, like you said, Megan, the facts, it's true that the facts don't care about our feelings, but what persuades people is sharing our stories. And we need to do a much better job of sharing those stories as a movement, because the latest polls show that 57% of Americans believe that a woman should be able to get an abortion for any reason. So we've got a lot of minds to sway and hearts to open, and we can do that with our stories. And even if you don't have a story, like I give you all permission to share what I shared with you about my mom. If you don't have your own story, you can borrow one of ours. You can also just be that compassionate person. A lot of you, like, you're at the age where your friends could end up with a crisis pregnancy. How are you going to talk to them? I hope that we've given you some examples of things that you can talk to them about to advise them to choose life. And I encourage all of you to go to Lila's website to get all of the wonderful stats and resources there that you can share. And just stand up and be bold as a woman and talk about that motherhood is not a prison sentence. It's not a terrible thing. It's the most wonderful thing that you can do as a woman, is to create life. And be proud of that and be unabashed in sharing that with everyone. Thank you so much for listening today.
No other surgical procedure has caused more controversy and division than abortion.
I think this is the battleground culture issue in America today. Their view is that there is only one way to be a woman in this society.
More than ever, it's important for everyone to know where they stand on abortion and why. In 2019 alone, state abortion bills were in direct opposition to one another.
All the power in Albany now in the hands of Democrats, moving for quick passage of an abortion rights bill. Provisions in the bill include dropping most restrictions on abortions after 24 weeks, allowing midwives and nurse practitioners to perform abortions, and ending criminal charges for harming children in the womb.
We're saying here in New York, women's lives matter.
The Alabama bill essentially outlaws abortion from the moment a woman becomes pregnant. The only exception would be if her life was in danger.
The whole point of this law is to establish that a fetus is a person with rights. Now, that is a bold interpretation of human development.
This isn't about protecting life. If that's what it was about, then Republicans would invest money in maternity care, parental leave, universal pre-K, or any number of policies that would actually help families raise children. What it's really about is depriving women of their basic human rights.
We often hear about the abortion issue in regards to politics.
I strongly support Roe v. Wade, which guarantees a constitutional right to a woman.
But abortion is more than a mere topic of news and debates. It is a real occurrence in the lives of people around us, in our schools, workplaces, even churches. In Hollywood and popular American culture, pro-choice is considered ethically good.
And I wouldn't have been able to do this without employing a woman's right to choose.
Identify as pro-choice because they picked up on the idea that that's the right side to be.
For many, the issue is not so black and white. Many Americans remain in the middle, holding personal beliefs, yet not wanting to impose them onto others.
So it's not a sin in your church to have an abortion?
That's the kind of conversation we would have, finding out your story, where you're from. People have to live to their own convictions, and I think if I have to tell you...
But before we claim to be only personally pro-life, shouldn't our first responsibility be to understand the pro-life case? Or should we be content to form our beliefs simply from what is said in the media?
We at Planned Parenthood do more to prevent unintended pregnancies than any other organization.
There's a whole laundry list of things that we know reduce the need for abortions in America. Let's start with sex education and contraception.
If you want fewer abortions, you should love birth control. You should be filling Pez dispensers with birth control pills. You should be giving condoms out to trick-or-treaters and IUD earrings out as hostess gifts. Birth control should be your favorite thing in the whole world.
The right makes it sound like the left just wants to kill babies, and the left makes it sound like the right just hates women.
You actually do not care about women. You take it away politically.
A baby dies in an abortion. Do you realize that? Are you ignoring that fact? That's a reality. This is a human life that is being extinguished.
I want the world to know that women in my situation need support.
Finding that pregnancy center was the only person I had to support me at that time.
I believe that being pro-life is the most progressive value that we can have.
She's got to know when she takes that pregnancy test that her church is not going to try to treat her like the Pharisees tried to treat the woman caught in adultery.
As a church, we can't just vote pro-life. We have to be pro-love. Pro-love is an action. It's going beyond being just pro-birth. It's about pro-whole life.
How is it that we can trust an organization for whom abortion is such an important part of their business model to simultaneously effectively prevent pregnancy and prevent abortion?
When you're an obstetrician gynecologist and you're pro-choice, you have to decide whether you're actually going to do those abortions.
You said, what about a woman's right to choose? And my answer is to choose what? What are they choosing? What does an abortion do?
Checking out the scene, wasn't trying to get my numbers up. You know I keep it cool. I prefer to stay in the cut. Don't want no attention on me when I'm trying to shake the blue.